Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the special budget hearing meeting of the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. Today is Wednesday, May 10th. Please note that Supervisor Barger will be absent from our budget meeting hearing today. The Chief Executive Officer, the County Council, the Executive Officer, and the Sergeant at Arms are all here to assist. And we will begin today's board meeting with the county's land acknowledgement, followed by our code of conduct. The County of Los Angeles recognizes that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tongva, the Tataviam, Serrano, Quiche, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect to their elders and descendants, past, present, and emerging, as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. We acknowledge that settler colonization resulted in land seizure, disease, subjugation, slavery, relocation, broken promises, genocide, and multi-generational trauma. This acknowledgement demonstrates our responsibility and commitment to truth, healing, and reconciliation, and to elevating the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of Los Angeles County. We are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands. We are dedicated to growing and sustaining relationships with Native peoples and local tribal governments, including, in no particular order, the Fernandino Tataviam Band of Mission Indians, the Gabrielino Tongva Indians of California Tribal Council, the Gabrielino Tongva San Gabriel Band of Mission Indians, the Gabrielino Band of Mission Indians, Quiche Nation, the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, the San Fernando Band of Mission Indians.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I please have your attention? The meeting of the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors is about to commence. A code of conduct will now be read, and we request that you comply with it to ensure the efficient administration of the meeting. Members of the public, it is your right to participate in today's board hearing, and the board encourages such participation. However, the right of the public to address the board must be balanced with the need to ensure that public comment does not interfere with the orderly course of the board's business. All are reminded to abide by the following rules. Speakers must cease speaking immediately when their time has ended. Public comment on agenda items must relate to the subject matter of that item. General public comment is limited to subjects within the jurisdiction of the board. Public comment does not include the right to engage in a dialogue with board members or staff. Please remain respectful of the forum and refrain from uttering, writing, or displaying profane, personal, threatening, derogatory, demeaning, or other abusive statements toward the board, any member thereof, staff, or any other person. Members of the audience should be respectful of the views expressed by speakers, staff, and board members, and may not clap, cheer, whistle, or otherwise disrupt the orderly conduct of the meeting. Any person engaging in conduct that disrupts the meeting is subject to being removed from the board meeting. And finally, if you witness conduct or behavior by other members of the public that disrupts your ability to remain engaged or participate in this meeting, please notify the Sergeant at Arms or other county staff. Thank you for your cooperation.
Okay, today we will begin with the report by our Chief Executive Officer. Then we will hear remarks from my colleagues. We will start with Supervisor Mitchell, and then Supervisor Horvath, then Supervisor Solis, and then myself. And that will be followed by our LA County Sheriff, Robert Luna, and then we will take up public comment. Item number 1 is a report by Chief Executive Officer Vezia Davenport, and item number 2 is a public hearing. These items are related and will be taken up together. We will begin with our Chief Executive Officer, Vezia Davenport. The floor is yours.
And good morning, Board of Supervisors. As we enter the public hearings phase of the county budget process, I will keep my remarks short and the presentation brief, since much of the information that I will be presenting and sharing today was already presented with the recommended budget last month. We have the slides on the screen. Let's go to our first slide, please. So recommended budget as a glance. This is just a reminder. Our recommended budget totals $43 billion, and that's $1.6 billion less than where we concluded last year's budget. This budget provides a total of 114,106 budgeted positions in the county workforce, and that's an increase of 514 positions over last year. Many of those are allocated to the mental health and health areas. As always, we continue to face a vast array of unmet needs from our county departments. Of the $1.9 billion in unmet needs requests that we received, $1.1 billion were denied and $813 million were deferred to a future budget phase. I'll take the next slide, please. A little bit about where the money goes. It may be useful for your board and for the public to see this visualization of where the county's budget is allocated. By far, the largest share is devoted to health, including our extensive hospital system, as well as mental health and public health services. A smaller portion of this category includes functions like the sewer, maintenance, and garbage disposal districts, which are overseen by our Public Works Department. Next is public assistance, which includes benefits like CalFresh, CalWorks, and General Relief. Next, in descending order, is public protection, which includes not just the Sheriff's Department and fire, but also the district attorney, the public defender, alternate public defender, the newly established Justice Care and Opportunities Department, the Office of Diversion and Reentry, and others. And then rounding out this pie chart are general government, which includes assessor, auditor, controller, board of supervisors, county council, CEO, the Department of Economic Opportunity, the treasurer, tax collector, and more. And then in the other category, which is primarily public works along with some library funding, recreation and culture. I'll take the next slide, please. So funding some of our most urgent priorities. This slide is just a reminder of what we talked about last month in April, some of our largest allocation areas in the recommended budget. This budget supports board-directed priorities by investing in the following: $692 million to fuel our urgent response to the homelessness emergency, $288 million in ongoing annual funding for Care First and community investment. This represents the fulfillment of the board's commitment, which originated with Measure J, to allocate 10% of the county's locally generated unrestricted revenues to provide alternatives to incarceration and direct community investments. Nearly $50 million to address the unacceptable conditions in our jails, and another $6.6 million to fund Sheriff's Department reforms, including the Office of Constitutional Policing. I'll take the next slide, please. But even with a $43 billion budget, we still have limitations, as this slide shows. In fact, only 20% of our budget is available to be allocated to new ongoing programs and services. The rest is either tied to specific purposes that are set by the federal, state, and other agencies granting this money to the county, or it's one-time funding that under our budget policy cannot be used to support ongoing multi-year programs or services. I'll take the next slide, please. This is a chart that we've shared before. I think it's kind of hard to forget with all the vibrant colors. The dark red colors and the bold font toward the upper right indicate some of our most serious vulnerabilities on the horizon, such as the lawsuits alleging childhood sexual assault in county facilities going back decades. The chart also encompasses other upcoming challenges we will need to confront, such as renewing the Measure H funding to fight homelessness, and also the expiration of $1.9 billion in funding that the county received under the American Rescue Plan Act. The takeaway message is that in the midst of an unsettled overall economy, the county has some significant financial obligations and disruptions ahead of us. At a time like this, I think we are all mindful of the importance of our longstanding tradition of prudent budgeting here in LA County. I'll take the next slide, please. In closing, I'd like to acknowledge the importance of this public hearing phase of the county budget process. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak with us directly about the contents of this budget and also to make suggestions about what they would like to see included. We'll be back in June with final changes to the recommended budget before the budget process concludes in October with the supplemental budget phase. Thank you, supervisors, and that concludes my remarks, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Now, Supervisor Mitchell, would you like to begin with your remarks?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you to our CEO for that presentation. The pie chart is critical for our understanding. I appreciate you. You know, Madam Chair, I think I was in high school when I heard a member of the Congressional Black Caucus define politics, which probably is what piqued my interest. And he defined politics as the process by which who gets what when. And I think that also fuels my commitment to budgeting process because it takes resources to figure out who gets what when. And so from my perspective, public participation in our budget process is a critical element of our system. And so today we welcome county residents to present their ideas and thoughts on how our resources should be allocated to them, to services that they are entitled to and require across the county. In addition to the public comments we hear today, I'll also be holding my second budget town hall meeting next week for 2nd District constituents to directly share their views on the budget with me and my team. And so I'm looking forward to that budget listening session also and welcome all of my constituents to participate. I hope that they will. As always, I look forward to the opportunity to work with all of you on the board to identify the priorities of our county and approve funding for critical services. It is clear by this presentation and what we've heard previously, this will require increased scrutiny as we're facing fiscal uncertainties as well as programmatic challenges. Again, that red chart that we got in April and we see again today is a constant reminder of commitments we've made, priorities we all have committed to for our county, as well as some of the things that are really out of our control, but nonetheless will hit our pocketbook directly. And so this is another page that I keep close to remind me of the obligations we have and the actions we'll have to take. I think this process should remind us of our responsibility to consider the costs of our ideas and decisions. We'll need to be strategic with the ideas we bring forward so our constituents are served with an optimal framework that combines problem solving with the effective use of our resources. Again, I go back to the pie chart that was shared with us in April and again today. What's so important about the pie chart is to recognize that the pie is finite. It's not infinite. And so when we talk about our limited resources, I think it's important that we recognize that health, public works, sanitation, public assistance constitute over half of our budget, that we're reminded about really the smaller percentage that we have control over. I think the CAO said 20% on her slide of resources for ongoing, new programs and ideas. And when we are forced to scale back and cut, which is, the thing that wakes me up in the middle of the night consistently, when you have to cut big, you go to the biggest slice of your pie. And those are the most critical services I believe we provide as the county: mental health, public health, the core safety net element of the work that we do every day. That's why it's important that we are clear about our resources, that we take the prioritization process very seriously so we don't get in a position when our constituents need county services the most during a recession or when folks are in trouble, that we have the resources to provide those life-sustaining services. That's why I think this budget process is so important, perhaps one of the most important actions we can take as a board. So I want to thank the members of the public who are here and who will engage and we will hear from shortly in your participation in the county's budget process. And I look forward to hearing diverse perspectives from every corner of the county. And please know that we are listening to your comments and we're going to read the correspondence that you submit. And again, I'm eager to always work with my colleagues on the board, the CEO, and the county departments who I see are represented by their departments head here today, to approve a budget by the end of June that will best serve all residents of the county. Thank you for your important contributions to this process. I understand that it is not easy to put a budget together. It is a living document that is in constant motion, that's informed by what we know today and what we anticipate for tomorrow. It is true art and science in terms of developing a budget that really attempts to meet the need for every Angelino, because we have a responsibility to try to build a Los Angeles County that's grounded in equity and meets everyone's needs. Madam Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity. I look forward to our deliberations.
Thank you, Supervisor Mitchell. Supervisor Horvath.
Thank you very much. I first want to start by thanking our CEO as well for her budget presentation, for all the staff's work on this budget. We appreciate all the hard work that goes into it. I also want to thank in advance all of the members of the public who are here and who will join us virtually to engage in this conversation and be addressing us on our budget today. Public engagement in the budget process is essential, and I applaud the members of the public who are taking the opportunity to be engaged today. We may have limited discretionary funds, 20% of our budget, in fact, while we have many budgetary needs. But we also must value the input of our public on what should be prioritized in our final budget, and so I appreciate all who will engage today and beyond. I also encourage stakeholders and members of the public to continue to submit budgetary comments to the CEO and to our offices. We will continue to engage beyond today's meeting. We have several stages left in the budgeting process, so we know that today is not your last opportunity, and that any written feedback you have will be valued and reviewed by my budget staff to ensure that it is included in our final decision making. I know we have far more needs than revenues in the county, and which is hard to believe when we talk about a budget as big as $43 billion, but it is important for us to work collectively to find creative budgetary solutions to our constituent needs. As we move forward in the budget process, I will be focused on several areas of specific need, including homelessness and housing, including assistance for renters, Justice Reimagined, including our jail consent decrees and juvenile halls and probation needs. And within this, I know that in our last budget discussion, there were many comments with regard to CFCI, which is getting a large part of our discretionary funding. While we know that the existing amount hasn't been spent in terms of what's already been allocated, if we get to a place where the additional $12 million that the community is asking for is ready to be used and needed, I will personally fight for it. But right now, what we see is that there are still funds available for this programming, and we need to make sure that we are prioritizing and using all of our budget to address those prioritized needs. I will also be focusing on health and well-being. It'll be important for our departments to closely examine the needs of specific communities, including our LGBTQ+ community, young people, and women, to ensure we are not missing critical needs. And I hope we can continue to enhance the investments we're making to address the mental health needs of our community, especially those who are unhoused. I'll also be focusing on sustainability and the environment, including water infrastructure, our transportation and metro needs, and of course, equity and access, especially in light of the community needs after COVID. We know that with COVID-19 related protections and funding programs expiring or already having expired, there will be many communities and individuals who remain in need. Our budget must identify and address where those needs exist. Those are the areas that I will be focusing on, but of course today is about you, so I will be listening to where you would like to see us prioritize and how we can work together to make that happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Horvath. Supervisor Solis.
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Chair. And I'd also like to add my appreciation to my colleagues and again thank our CEO, Phasia Davenport, and her entire team for their continued hard work on balancing our budget. Today's meeting is an opportunity for us to hear from the public on their response to the budget recommendations provided to us by the CEO, which we approved last month. This time last year, however, we were still dealing with COVID-19, the impacts of which I fear will be lasting for decades to come. We were in the middle of tough labor negotiations, which since have been resolved, as well as rising interest rates and inflation, which are squeezing our struggling economy and our communities. And the year before that, we were reeling from the pandemic-induced recession. And now, for the upcoming fiscal year, there are several pressures on the budget again. The looming consent decrees for our jails and probation camps as a result of unprecedented litigation costs that we will face, slower growth in property tax, and the state, whom we are often turning to for support, they too are anticipating a deficit in their budget. All of this to say, a crisis is not new to LA County. And one thing that remains consistent throughout the years is that there will always be more needs than available funding. In fact, looking at the chart that the CEO passed out, if you calculate the unmet needs, it's almost close to $4 billion that we are not able to muster up enough funding right now. But I would say to my colleagues, there is hope, there is esperanza. This board and the boards before us have implemented strong fiscal policies and safeguards. So even if we don't have any new revenue, there still may be one-time surplus funds at the end of the year. And at that time, one-time funding is perfect for one-time costs, such as building more housing. We can't lose sight of the county's top priority, which continues to be to house our unsheltered residents. We need to build more beds as quickly as possible, beds with mental health services and substance abuse services, and beds without services, all because not everyone will need treatment, they just need a bed. And as we know, low-income affordable housing too is necessary. We can't address homelessness without also increasing a plan to create all types of housing options. In my district alone, I have several viable projects that I believe will bring thousands of beds online. The iconic Old General Hospital, which would bring about close to 1,000 units of housing, a grocery market, open space, community gathering, and healing. A newly named LA General Medical Center, previously known as LACUSC, to build treatment beds for people who are experiencing homelessness. This is critical for patients who are safely discharged from our emergency rooms but need ongoing treatment for mental health and substance abuse, especially those who would otherwise be left out in the streets or would be leaving jails. McLaren Hall is another project that I want to mention, to be converted into a space of healing and offer housing, specifically for survivors of domestic violence and transitional aged youth, and also to create an opportunity for those individuals who are leaving foster care, transitional aged youth, to be housed there, to help to heal the pain that so many have suffered there and that scar on the county. And to bridge the gap on park inequity, we're building one of the largest urban parks, as you well know, Madam Chair, that will now be viewed as a Puente Hills Regional Park, which was previously a landfill. I think the second largest converted landfill space to a park in this country. New York probably competes with us, but we're gonna beat them. And I wanna say that that was a priority that I held even in the state Senate, getting a bill through to convert that landfill, to close it and make it a park. So we have a lot of those environmental justice issues that we need to continue to work towards. And whether it's building more parks or building safe places, landing spaces for our communities, that's what we need to do. So I would just say that this is going to be a tough budget. We're prepared to listen to what our community has to say, but know that here on the board, we're trying our very hardest to try to mitigate and understand each of those concerns and put them in a priority process where we believe they will have the most impact. I won't go into what our other board members have said, but I totally agree that our priorities are that we want people to be safe, we want them to have a good life here in the county, and we want them to stay here. And we are one of those counties, I think, that can set our sails for other people to view across this country. With that, Madam Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Solis, and thank you to my colleagues for your insightful comments and perspective on this budget. Thank you, Fija, and your team again for the hard work that's gone into it. And I think, Supervisor Solis, your remarks about the unmet needs, you know, that price tag is amazing. And I look at our department heads that are here today, and some of those unmet needs, unfortunately, as you know, are in your departments. But I do want the to know that these department heads, for each and every one of the departments they represent, they have made the ask. They have advocated to the best of their ability that the needs that they know are important and the priorities that they have ultimately to serve our constituents have been real and passionate, and their dedication shines through. But I know they're sitting there today knowing that some of those unmet needs are things that they asked for, which we keep trying but may not be able to deliver. So that code of conduct was for all of you, right? No threatening remarks to the board members. You know, one of the things I'm thinking about is in this $43 billion budget, it's spoken for, it's stuff that we're deliberating on. We're going to hear from the public about what maybe you think is missing, what some priorities that you want to elevate. But I know that we're all very concerned about Title 42 lifting, and I just wanted to flag that. And I think that you've heard from this board our desire to make sure that if migrants come to LA County, that we are ready in a way to address their immediate needs. And I know we're going to go after FEMA funding and we're going to go after state funding, but just going to ask Ms. Davenport, do we have resources now that maybe we didn't think about last year that we can use temporarily to address the needs that we think might be coming here?
Thank you for the question, Supervisor, on a very important topic. I think we will be able to mobilize resources, although we had not planned to use them. I think the answer is yes, and we will figure out a way to mobilize something until we can get assistance from our federal partners and our state partners, as well as some of the other cities in the county.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then one other thing I want to say, I didn't say it last time in the budget, and I felt badly just personally for not saying it, and I know everyone feels the same way, and I know you feel the same way. When we talk about those risks, you know, the red marks on this budget, some of it is, you know, from $1 to $3 billion that we think might be from potential 3,000 claims alleging childhood assault at our county facilities and other locations. And I know we talk about it during the budget, and I know each and every one of us knows it's not just a budget item. It's not just a risk. The risk was to those young people that were in our care. That was the risk. We are now maybe having to pay for it, but the trauma and the risk is not, to me, just a budget item. It really is lives that have been traumatized, which is another reminder to each and every one of us that our county employees, who we hire how we train them. The character of our county employees matters, not just as a budget item, but really in terms of the safety, the health and welfare of those who are in our care, many times through no fault of their own. So I just wanted to say it's not just a budget risk, it's much more than that. And the last thing I just wanted to throw out there is the assessor meant to be present today, but he's in Sacramento testifying on legislation, so he's not available today. But I understand that he's concerned about record preservation, and I share his concerns, and we saw how important record preservation was when it came to Bruce's Beach, and I'm grateful that the assessor was able to remediate and preserve map books in that case. And I understand that the assessor has submitted a budget request regarding preservation of vital records, and I just wanted to express my support for that. And I also think the assessor is interested in expanding his department data analytics capabilities. Never thought I'd say those three words together. To better help with, but I know this is a priority for Supervisor Mitchell, help with forecasting and equity in assessments. So I encourage our CEO to collaborate with the assessor on helping to develop that program. And again, with that, we will hear from, I believe, the sheriff is here. Sheriff Luna, please come and address us. Good morning.
Good morning. Very happy to be here. And before I get started, I wanted to introduce, for those of you who do not know, sitting to my left is Assistant Sheriff Jill Torres, who is our department CFO. And I got to thank her up front because a lot of this budget preparation she's been doing with a lot of wonderful staff from the county, all of yours, and specifically with our county CEO. So thank you all for everything. So good morning, Chair Hahn and members of the board. I appreciate this opportunity to address your board regarding the Sheriff's Department budget request for fiscal year 2023-24 and many issues currently facing the department. You may recall that I took office on December the 5th, and our initial budget request was due 6 weeks later. In the initial review of the state of the department, a few themes emerged. One, department staffing. As I began to meet with department members, the overwhelming comment I heard from our staff was fatigued during or due to mandatory overtime. I inherited an organization with approximately 1,100 sworn vacancies and 1,400 professional staff vacancies. Additionally, there is nearly 1,200 additional staff on some sort of leave, those that are injured on duty, for example, long-term illness, military leave, and those relieved of duty for conduct that is being investigated. Mandatory overtime is taking a toll on our employees' health, their families, and their lives. Unfortunately, we have had employees leaving for other agencies, citing long commutes, mandatory overtime, and a desire for an improved quality of life. To attempt to address this, I have requested funding in the budget for recruiting and to run 8 academy classes next year. It will continue to be a challenge for the recruiting staff to fill the academy classes, as every police agency in our country is struggling with filling vacancies. The next topic I'd like to discuss is consent decree settlement agreement compliance. One of the focuses of my campaign and my initial months in office has been to put a much greater focus on addressing the many provisions of the settlement agreements and consent decrees in which the department is involved, to work on changing, one, our behavior, achieving compliance, and ultimately emerge from court oversight. As you are aware, the recommended budget contains a request to establish the Office of Constitutional Policing, which will be led by Eileen Decker. She has already started meeting with monitors and has begun the process of identifying areas in which the department is deficient in compliance. As we have moved through this budget process, our request from the recommended budget phase to final changes have been modified, with most of those current requests centering around consent decree and settlement agreement compliance. We cannot overstate the significance of these matters, and I urge you to invest in the technology and people needed to gain compliance. The Antelope Valley Settlement Agreement has been pending for 8 years. A letter from the Department of Justice in March claimed that the failures of compliance over the last 3 years resulted in an impasse being reached. Ms. Decker and I work closely with people in the department and with the Department of Justice and the monitoring team to address issues that have been pending for those 3 years. The lack of attention to the settlement agreement that was originally estimated to be completed years ago is staggering. We are working hard to regain the trust of the Department of Justice and the monitors and to try and get a positive report to the court when it is filed in July. We have a lot to do to address issues that have been bluntly ignored, including having a CAD system that codes information properly and in detail, retraining deputies on modern policing principles, monitoring stop data more effectively, developing effective community engagement programs, and establishing an early intervention system for all of our deputies. But the challenges with the Antelope Valley Settlement Agreement is nothing compared to the challenges we face in our jails, where we have multiple agreements with the Rosas, Rutherford, Department of Justice, and Johnson agreements, which have all been pending 8 years or more. The Rutherford case dates back to 1975. The problems are highlighted by the recent court proceedings. As you are aware, the department and the county were in court with Judge Ferguson on April 19th, and his order has set a number of milestones for achievement in each of these cases, including providing sufficient housing for moderate observation housing and high observation housing inmates, sufficient forensic inpatient placements, and out-of-cell time managing our mentally ill population, both MOH and HOH more effectively, and improving the amount of time individuals remain in the inmate reception center, which has gotten a lot of attention lately for the right reasons. These are only the current issues facing the jails. We must collectively develop a longer-term solution to the issues facing us in the jails. We can both protect the constitutional rights of our inmates while simultaneously protecting the public from criminal activity. We must all have an increased sense of urgency here to comply with constitutional requirements and to demonstrate strong, measurable advancements towards compliance. We must avoid sanctions and the potential for receivership, which appears now to be, unfortunately, a very real possibility. I know you share my concerns that any move towards contempt or receivership is not in the best interest of our county. Addressing these issues can no longer be avoided. To the extent the county could avoid addressing these issues in the past, that time is long gone. Together, we must address these issues urgently. Neither you nor I created these problems, which due to the inattention and inaction are now massive. While we did not create these issues, we are charged with fixing all of them. Our budget requests are a drop in the bucket on these issues we must address. One of the biggest issues we must address is technology. The department's technology is woefully behind industry standards in law enforcement and has been a significant barrier in achieving compliance with both the custody and the Antelope Valley Department of Justice consent decree. Many of the department's documentation efforts still rely on paper processes, which do not hold up in any audit or compliance measurement. In our revised request for the recommended budget, there is a significant emphasis on improvements in technology to include existing network infrastructure needs, a jail information management system, a multi-year upgrade of the information technology network in custody. These will be followed by the replacement of existing closed-circuit TV systems in custody, which have reached the end of their lifespan, and a phased-in rollout of body-worn cameras for employees working in the custody environment. The department's computer-aided dispatch system, or CAD system, is over 30 years old. It is outdated, past end of life, and hanging in by a thread. The system was developed in a computer language that is archaic and can no longer be supported. Further, the decentralized way in which the department dispatches calls to each station is problematic and non-standardized. The department needs to move to an updated CAD system that will allow a centralized dispatch station like every other police agency in the country. This will also help to minimize liability. Equipment-wise, the department does not have a multi-year equipment replacement plan, but one is currently being developed. Because there has been no planning, the department currently has insufficient tasers, the majority of which are outdated and out of warranty. The lack of less lethal options creates additional liability for the department and our county. We are requesting a multi-year rollout of tasers in patrol. Lastly, I would like to highlight the issues of deputy gangs. Your board adopted all the recommendations made by the Civilian Oversight Commission related to deputy gangs, one of which was having 2 captains at patrol stations identified by the Civilian Oversight Commission report as having gang issues. I have requested 6 captains to comply with the recommendation and urge you to support this request. I believe these captains are needed, and at the very least in the stations that are the subject of settlement agreements and the subject of the Civilian Oversight Commission report. This will add supervision that will be critical to turning those stations around. The needs of the department exceed the time I have to address you. I understand and appreciate the many financial challenges the county faces, and also understand that the prioritized item in our requests are expensive. I would request that we work together as partners to develop plans over the next few years to address these requests. I want to personally thank each and every one of you and your staff, and specifically our Chief Executive Officer, Fisha Davenport. You've been wonderful from the time I stepped in and greatly assisting us, and your entire staff for your cooperation and collaboration you have shown the team over the last 5 months. And now I'm happy to answer any questions that any of you may have.
Colleagues, do you, oh yes, Supervisor Solis. Oh, I see you're all up there. Okay, so Supervisor Solis, Supervisor Mitchell, and Supervisor Horvath.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff Luna, for coming and also introducing us to your new CFO. She's not a stranger here to many of us. I wanted you to elaborate a little bit more on the 8 academy classes. What does the typical enrollment look like, and how soon will that begin? Or could begin, put it that way.
Our recruiting is ongoing, trying to fill the best people that we can for the Sheriff's Department. Our goal is to fill each class with 100 recruits, specifically LA County Sheriff Deputy recruits. That's the goal. We have had some challenges, just like other police agencies do, like our brothers and sisters next door at LAPD. So some of our last classes have reached about the 70 mark, maybe the 80 mark, but the goal will still be 100. We will not, or I refuse to lower any standards. So we are reaching out to a marketing company that will assist us to recruit across the country to find the best qualified people for our department, for our county.
And what do you sense in terms of training? Because I think that's been a big issue. What do you foresee in terms of changing any training protocols that may differ from your predecessor?
We are in the process of examining all of our policies, our processes, and training in itself. So, for example, we've had a national organization here in town the last couple of weeks, PERF, the Police Executive Research Forum, teaching us kind of a train the trainer for what they call ICAT principles, which are basically de-escalation, a different way of approaching mentally ill, for example, how to take our time, slow down, just to handle issues differently. And I see programs like that, and I've challenged our command staff to look across the country for national best standards, not only to meet them, but exceed them. And that's our vision, and that's how we're going to move forward.
And could you elaborate a little bit more on the concept of having 2 captains at a station, and which ones are you looking at?
In the Civilian Oversight Commission report, one of the 27 recommendations was that we put 2 captains at each station that they identified as having a history of having challenges. So, for example, like the East LA station comes up a lot. The Compton station comes up a lot. So one of our goals is to put 2 captains there. One, in a sense, would strictly deal with community engagement and all the issues that captains deal with now. The other one would be more of an administrative capacity, but we're still working out the details on how that would work. But at the end of the day, you will have 2 captains serving our contract cities, our unincorporated areas, and I think it will be better for everybody across the board because you increase management oversight, supervision, and I believe it's a very good path forward.
So one last question, Madam Chair, if I might. With respect to deputies in custody and some of the challenges we have there, what do you foresee, especially with the oversight that we are now seeing occur more regularly? We're going to have a visit, I think, by Judge Ferguson shortly. What are some of the things that you foresee changes that can be made?
I see significant changes as I look forward. One, in the meetings that we've had, not only with our own county council, but other key staff, and meeting with the federal monitors, we've made it clear that the tone has changed in that we're looking at every one of the recommendations very seriously, and we are, if we're not getting a passing grade in some of the categories, why aren't we? I talk about in this presentation a jail management system. Again, I'm an outsider coming into this organization, but I'm just floored that the biggest county jail in the country doesn't have a jail management system. When I'm asking for stats and data where I need to make critical decisions or give information forward, it's not there. So that is why I'm before you and saying that this is a critical piece in moving forward to get into compliance with a lot of the settlement agreements we have, because we have to be data driven. We have to understand where the problems are, who the problem is, in order to fix them. And honestly, it's a sense of urgency. So for example, Jill has been working magic in trying to build up our custodial and maintenance staff at our custody facilities, so that I'm tired of hearing about the cleanliness issues and other challenges that are unacceptable to any of us. So now we're putting our priorities there, supported by money, to get some of this stuff done and start moving it forward. It's just a different attitude in approaching this whole thing.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And just so we know, we're almost an hour in, so again, we want to make sure we give the public the opportunity to weigh in our budget. But with that, Ms. Mitchell, and then Ms. Horvath.
Thank you, and heard you loud and clear. I'll cut my questions down to one because I can circle back with you, Sheriff. First of all, thank you for having a CFO and coming today, acknowledging challenges, but also bringing forward solutions in terms of your fiscal management of your own department. I appreciate that greatly. So you just mentioned, as an outsider coming into the organization, you struggled with your inability to kind of collect data, particularly specifically with regard to the jail. So my question is, when you're thinking about your current staff, including custody and patrol, what is your process for ensuring that your current resources are being allocated properly or as you see fit?
That's part of the review of somebody coming in and making sure that we have the right people in the right places, which also includes an assessment, an internal assessment of where we have currently sworn personnel, where we may have professional staff to replace. So we're weighing everybody's job to make sure that we are being as efficient as we can. I don't believe in asking for more people or things unless we are being as proficient as we can with what we've got.
I appreciate that. And I'm going to ask my two questions just to get them on the record, and we can circle back based on the chair's comments. I really want to hear from your perspective what role you think the additional captains will play in actually eradicating deputy gangs. So I'd like to have that conversation secondly. And then I'd like to understand, of the items you talked about today in terms of wanting us to pay attention to the budget, I don't have a sense of kind of the total dollar amount, all the things you listed. So offline, if I could just be told what the total dollar figure that you're asking for outside of what's currently in the proposed budget before us. So thank you very much for that. We'll get that.
We'll follow up
offline.
with you on that.
Thank you, Supervisor Mitchell. Supervisor Horvath.
Thank you very much. Just a couple questions. First, I hear you making a request for tasers. You intend them to be as a less lethal tool, but I have a lot of reservations given what happened in my district earlier this year and the use of tasers that ultimately resulted in the killing of someone in my district. So does the Sheriff's Department intend to have a taser policy, and what is going to guide use of tasers if that is something that the department intends?
Yes, we will absolutely. We have currently a taser policy. Like many of our other policies, I'm looking at it to make sure it's adequate. I'm making sure that it, again, not only meets but exceeds national standards. I want to make sure that not only is there a well-defined policy, but there's training attached to it, and then accountability. How are we holding people accountable? So some of the options that we're working on for the new tasers ahead not only deal with the equipment and the best equipment to fill our needs, but it's that policy, training, and accountability that goes with it.
And how are you using civilians to fill in some of the vacancies that, or unsworn staff to fill in some of the vacancies in your department? I'm clear that you've highlighted the vacancies, but there are roles in the department that do not require somebody who is a sworn law enforcement official to fill them.
And we are, yes, you're correct. And that's why we're assessing different positions. Not only administrative positions, but what are other positions that we have historically had somebody sworn in that actually gives our professional staff more of a ladder to look up at higher level positions, more diverse positions, because we want to be able not only to recruit for our deputies, but our professional staff as well.
One of the things that we've heard highlighted is that women are not being able to be transferred to court because of bus operations. Does your budget address this shortage and the inability of women to be able to timely get to their court appointments?
I'm going to have to get back to you on that, look at that more thoroughly. We've been hearing about some of the challenges, and I know in talking to some of our employees, we're deficient in that area from an equipment perspective, so that is something we're going to have to really come forward to. But if you look at the issue of buses, it's like many other very important things that are happening in the department. Our team has really looked at the entire picture, and we have determined that the consent decrees, the settlement agreements are something that we absolutely have to address. So in the presentation, the summary of it I gave you, a lot of it is focused on that and taking one step at a time. I don't want to overburden all of you with all of our needs because I'd be here for several hours.
Well, that goes right into my last question. Compliance with the consent decrees includes depopulation of our jails, and we know that in Men's Central Jail specifically, more than half of the people who are in Men's Central Jail are there pre-trial. So while I hear you making budget requests on a variety of technologies that will assist you in making decisions, what I would like to see, and I absolutely commit to working on with you, are changes in our pretrial system. So that way we don't have people who are incarcerated, who have not been found guilty of a crime, who are simply awaiting their opportunity to go to court, because that will significantly address our population issues. It will significantly address a lot of the issues that we have to come into compliance with regard to those consent decrees. And so I hope that as you're looking at budget needs, I understand dollars and cents need to be allocated to technologies, but I also understand that hours need to be allocated to thinking through what we're going to do differently so we don't continue to have this inflow of people into jail who don't belong there.
I agree, and that the technology we're talking about will help us get to exactly what you're asking for.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Sheriff Luna, for coming in and presenting to us this morning. It does feel good that we do have a sense of working together and collaboration. And I'm not going to ask a question, but you and I did talk on the phone yesterday and wanted to encourage you to work with our CEO and our Office of Emergency Management as it relates to the possibility of migrants coming to Los Angeles County. I know you had lived experience in Long Beach as the chief of police when we had the unaccompanied minors set up there in Long Beach. I know you have a lot of experience. You have a lot of advice on how we might, first and foremost, make sure everybody is safe and that, you know, as people are going through the process of asylum or being reunited with families, that we don't have any, you know, anti-immigrant hate coming our way, and we expect for you to, whether or not we prepared for it or it's in your budget, I do know you have a lot to offer specifically as it relates to that. So,
yeah, I'm looking forward to being part of the team on that, and you're right. Obviously, our job, our role in humanitarian efforts. Please know that even as I'm sitting here today, I have team members who are on the phone with both officials from Homeland Security on a conference call. There's another one involving the White House today that we're involved in. And then Kevin McCown, who's part of our team, is gathering a call for all relevant county departments. We're going to be ready for this.
thank you so much for that. Okay, now we're going to move on to public comments on both agenda items. For members of the public on the telephone, please press 1 then 0 now to address the board. Executive Officer, please read the call-in information that was also provided on the agenda and explain our speaking rules.
For members of the public wishing to participate remotely, as indicated on the agenda, please call 877-336-4437 and use participant code number 1366786. Members of the public participating remotely and in the boardroom, you will have 1 minute to speak on the 2 agenda items. When speaking on the agenda items, you must be on topic. Our goal is to get through as many speakers as we can. If you're not speaking on topic, or if we cannot tell if you're speaking on an agenda item, you will get 1 warning from County Council or the chair. If you do not immediately or clearly get on topic, or if you stray off topic again, you will forfeit the rest of your time and the chair will move on to the next speaker. Please note that if you're also listening to the board meeting on a computer or speakerphone, you will need to turn down the volume on those devices as soon as the moderator calls on you. If you do not turn down the volume, there will be an echo. We will now begin calling speakers.
Will the following individuals please come forward? A. Achille, Aria Gooden, Aditi Sherikar, Amara Hall, Brooklyn Love, Car Anna Alicia, Christopher Eig, Diana Garcia Martinez, Deoncy Tusby, Dr. Critical Truthbay, Ellie Chantler, Elias Davila, Imari Wallace, Emerald Gilliam, and Francisco Romero. Moderator, may we have the first remote caller, please?
As a reminder, to address the board, if you have not already done so, please press 1 then 0 at this time. Do not press 1 and 0 a second time, or you will be removed from the queue. Our first participant is James Brooks. You have 1 minute. Please begin. Mr. Brooks, your line is open. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I was speaking on another topic, not this one.
We are only speaking today on items 1 and 2 as it relates to the budget.
Oh, okay. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm speaking in favor of the Park and Rec budget.
Yes, go ahead.
In our community, we've been, we in our community, we have a park known as Jackie Robinson Historic Park in Sun Village. And it provides, portable and accessible activities such as supporting our Jolly Seniors and their projects. We have Park After Dark, sports programs, youth programs, and after-school programs and more. In our town, our park has been the hub of the community since 1966, and that's when Jackie Robinson actually personally came out to dedicate it.
Thank you.
And there's so many good memories that are made there.
Good memories. Thank you so much, but your time has expired. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Frederick Thompson. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My topic is the same as Mr. Brooks, and I just wanted to emphasize the fact that Jackie Robinson Park is essential for our rural community. It is the only source of recreation that we have. And I'm also concerned about this summer because the temperatures in the Antelope Valley exceed 100 degrees on a daily basis, and we need a cooling center for our seniors. It is truly an oasis for our community. The Park After Dark is essential. And once again, if we do not have this, there is no other facility available for the community. So please, I hope that you will give us serious consideration. Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Margaret Greer. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Good morning. I'm Maura Greer with Arts for Healing and Justice Network and Leah. I'm here to a young person has tragically lost their life in the care of probation. The board has funded and supported probation, a system lost and out of control. But you, board, know that already. I'm here to hold probation and VOS accountable. Sexual abuse, trauma, cries from our young people and community to get our youth out of these harmful systems. And still another case. We are tired now. Another life gone, another file added. We are tired. How can you invest more money into probation when tragedy is still happening? Young people are not being supported. When will we do something? The board has allowed probation to get away with harming the lives of our young people. I urge the board to stand up for our young people in the system. Defund probation and let real support from community organizations.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Samantha Williams. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Hello?
Samantha Williams, your line's open. Check to see you're not muted on your end, please.
Hello, Samantha, are you there? All right, let's go to the next caller, but make sure this wasn't, a problem on our side, because we had some of those problems yesterday. So next.
Sure. The caller may be self-muted on their device, or maybe have stepped away from the call. We'll now go. Next participant is Jacqueline Bailey. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline Bailey. I live in Altadena. I'm 80 years old, and I'm part of an organization called the Soul Sisters Line Dance, and it's a program that we have at Loma Alta Park that includes exercise, cardio, dance, social contact, and it's good for our mental health. It's a valuable program. I've been a member of this park, or I've been using this park for 54 years. My children, my grandchildren, everyone has used it. But this program here is for me. And after COVID, it was very essential that we had a place to go. And I hope that this particular program, the line dance community at Loma Alta Park, continues. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Eric Previn. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Thank you. It is Eric Previn, and I appreciate some of the comments from the supervisors, but I thought this was for the public, so let's try to keep those short. The sheriff is here, and he's not Alex Villanueva, so I think people are pleased about that. Villanueva started a radio show yesterday, embarrassingly. But what I wanted to talk about was these unfilled positions. It's really outrageous. And just quickly to Supervisor Horvath, thank you for drawing attention to the fact that we are not going to be moving forward with tasers. Are you kidding me? Google Reuters taser death. This has been brought up, and I brought it up 10 years ago. And Sheriff Luna, one thing you could remove from the policy manual is arcing a taser to threaten a person. This has been done. That's where you spark it. And I had to debate with various sheriffs until I finally got them to agree, well, that makes no sense. But then, of course, they did nothing about it. So no tasers in Los Angeles County. We have a different approach. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Michelle King. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
District 1 resident on item 1, in what universe we increased funding for a dysfunctional crime-ready department? You voted unanimously, unanimously to increase transparency and accountability, remove LAFC patrol from county parks, and to protect surviving families from retaliation and harassment by the Sheriff's Department. Constitutional policing is it a joke? Giving more money to LAFC to investigate themselves will create zero accountability. Appointed Director Eileen Decker rubber-stamped LAPD misconduct and killings for years. That appointment is not only an insult to taxpayers, but a loud signal that you don't care. In collaboration with an undersheriff who has a gang tattoo of her own. A station tattoo is what deputy gang members have deliberately used to obscure membership in gangs. This is not Care First. We'd rather see an investment in mental health care workers, housing, jobs, childcare, built environment, and pandemic recovery. Item 2, Care First requires divestment from harm. $5 billion to the sheriff and probation doesn't do that. I urge you to fully fund Care First community investment by allocating at least $900 million in funding from the county budget and adopt the reimagined LA County Care budget that elevates the Care First.
Thank you very much.
You have the outline.
Thank you very much.
Please use it.
Your time has expired. I do know the board is having a little bit difficulty understanding. I just want to make sure that we've got everything on our end, the volume at the right level so that we can hear everybody's words clearly. Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Ricky Abeles. You may have 1 minute. Please begin.
Hi, my name is Ricky Abeles. I'm with Arts for LA, and I want to start by thanking CEO Davenport, the Executive Office, and the Board of Supervisors for your leadership. I'm here to discuss the Department of Arts and Culture's Organizational Grants Program, or the OGP, which provides critical support and stability to arts and culture nonprofits. Those nonprofits serve approximately 13.5 million Angelenos every year. And the grantee pool has rapidly increased, but our concern at Arts for LA is that inflation has chipped away at the value of the grant, and the OGP budget hasn't seen an increase for over a decade. Members of the Board of Supervisors, both past and current, have shown ongoing support for an increased OGP budget over the last few years, and doubling the OGP has been addressed as a critical priority by both LA County residents and arts practitioners. An increase would help address heightened pressure on the program, support grant administration and operations, help stabilize small and mid-sized organizations, help with the economic recovery following the pandemic, and continue to increase opportunities for historically marginalized communities.
Thank you.
This is especially true for arts
Thank you. Your time has
education. Thank you.
expired. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Minor M. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Thank you. Morning. My name is Minor. I'm with the Arts for Healing Justice Network and the Layup Coalition. I'm here today to hold probation and the board accountable for the young person we lost yesterday morning, Adbury J. while in custody of probation. Issues like this happen because y'all, the board, choose to invest and prioritize probation, who think punishment and incarceration is what we as youth need to learn from our mistakes. I urge the board to defund probation and invest in community-based programs that provide thorough and effective support that has helped me and many others in my community. It's time to prioritize care first, jails last, and fund YGR. We're tired of losing our loved ones to this inhumane and corrupt system. Be the leaders you claim to be and defund probation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Tamara Casa. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I had it on mute. Okay, good day.
Good
So
day.
the Sheriff's Department proposed budget is nearly $4 billion. The department, the department does not need additional funding for the Office of Constitutional Policing. The county must use these funds instead to address the housing crisis through creation of affordable housing, address this systemic inequality with better public services, attracting community gardens and farm share programs to serve community members experiencing food insecurity, improving inefficient public transportation, and aiding our homeless communities who feel the effects of increased wealth disparity the most. Giving more money to sheriffs will do nothing to address deputy gangs. We must recognize the real problem is LASD's pervasive culture of abuse and violence that gives rise to deputy gangs in the first place. Deputy gang members, well, egregious,
Thank you for your
certainly
call.
not
Your
the
time has
only
expired.
deputies violating.
Your next speaker, please.
This is ridiculous.
Our next participant is Byron Jose. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Hold on. I just want to remind the audience that we're going to try to get through as many as we can, but we ask that you don't applaud from the audience. If you agree with something that someone has said, put your hands up, or I don't mind the snapping. Or if you disagree with somebody, give them the thumbs down. But we're trying to keep the outburst from our auditorium at a minimum. Thank you so much. We have a lot of speakers that have called in to address us today. Next speaker, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is Byron, with an SB2 resident and with the Trans Latina Coalition and Reimagine LA. More gang leaders at these stations is going to lead to more gangs. The only way to comply with the consent decree is to depopulate our jails and at the county level. More weapons and more money to the sheriff is going to lead to more harm in the killing of our communities. We would like the board to direct the CEO to meet with the community to discuss the full funding of $900 million for CSCI instead of the cut that she did this year. That equals a true 10% of locally generated county funds. We want to make sure that we are uplifting the needs of transgender, expansive, and intersex communities across the county and across all departments. Again, your budget continues to reflect a jails first, care last approach. And so instead of just appropriating our language, we want to make sure that your words are reflected in your budget. The sheriff cannot lead efforts for the incoming migrants. It's going to lead to more abuse, rape, and killing like we see in our jails and in our probation camps. What we want you to make sure that you're funding our communities and you're partnering with organizations that are providing services.
Thank you so much. Your time has expired. We're now going to go to in-person speakers. Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Keely. I'm with Los Angeles Reimagine LA and Black Lives Matters LA. And I come before you to make this concept of cops last, people first. Think about your own home. If you had to make a choice between more guns and more locks while you had aging parents and children who are not fed, what choice would you make? If you chose more guns and more locks, that would then sacrifice the people who need the services. This budget is a reflection of your choosing more guns and more locks. We are calling on you to put cops last and people first. A care first budget starts with the people. And an additional $4 billion to an institution that should be practicing constitutional rights, protecting constitutional rights is a waste of time, energy, and money. And so they don't need that. So we're calling for no new funding for the LA Sheriff's and Probation Department. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Christopher Egan from the Union of American Physicians and Dentists. We represent physicians and dentists and psychiatrists and pharmacists and veterinarians in LA County. Our physicians, dentists, and psychiatrists have the highest vacancy rate in the county. At the jails in psychiatry, there's a 70% vacancy rate. Yet DHS and the county will not give our members a benefits package like Megaflex to help with recruitment. How does it make sense that DHS and the county says it's important to recruit physicians and psychiatrists, yet they have to tell them your benefits package will be 25% less than every county employee, including non-union doctors, who, by the way, do get, by default, Megaflex. The majority of our members are 100% patient care, and their services are reimbursable. So I also have a white paper report to give to the board on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, board members. My name is Annalicia Carr with the American Heart Association, a member of the LA Produces Coalition. We are here to urge the board to allocate $6 million for the continuous and sustained implementation of Market Match. County residents need solutions to the very urgent issue of nutrition insecurity. Nearly 25% of households do not have enough to eat. Market Match benefits our families, our local economy, small and mid-sized businesses, and is a recommendation of the LA Food Equity Roundtable Strategic Plan. Market Match is a program DPH has been successfully implementing with ARPA dollars, but this funding will run out very soon. Federal, state, and philanthropic dollars have historically supported this program, but have been unable to meet the full need in our county. We urge the board to invest $6 million in this impactful, evidence-based program. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Amara Hall. I live in District 2, and I'm a student leader in the Alliance Leadership Initiative. Today, I'm here to voice the benefits of youth development programs that use sport and play and how they can have a powerful impact on youth. I believe LA County should make sure Concept Proposal 113 in the CFCI pending plan is funded. Having sport and play as an asset provides youth with opportunities to develop and grow into confident and capable athletes. It also allows youth to have more access to resources needed to help lead them to success. Programs such as the Boys and Girls Club of America and the Alliance Initiative have impacted me by helping me to branch out and become more aware and knowledgeable of my own personal skills and interests in sports and how I can use my passions and abilities for good, not only for myself, but for the community also. In closing, thank you for the work that has already been done by youth in LA County, and I look forward to seeing more sport and play youth development programs created through the Care First Community Initiative.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Okay. Hello, my name is Emerald Gilliam. I live in District 2, and I'm a student leader in the Alliance Leadership Initiative. Today, I'm here to say youth development programs that use sport and play can have a powerful impact on youth, and LA County should make sure Concept Proposal 113 in the CFCI spending plan is funded. Sports give children a family away from home. It strengthens your mentality, and most importantly, it gives you hope. When you think you're incapable, sports is something that a child could look at as something that makes him capable. Through sports, I've discovered more of my abilities. I've gained a better mindset, and I've established networks and a family. Since I've joined the Alliance program this year, I've noticed that there aren't a lot of sports programs outside of school, and with the little we do have, it's only common sports such as basketball and football. Everyone deserves equal opportunities and more programs that includes their interests. In closing, thank you for the work that has already been done for the youth in LA County, and I look forward to seeing more sports play youth development programs created through the Care First Community Initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Araya Gooden. I live in District 2, and I'm a student representative in the Alliance Leadership Initiative. Today, I'm here to say youth development programs that use support and play can have a powerful impact on youth in LA County. Should make sure Concept Proposal 113 in the CFCI spending plan is funded. I'm advocating for use of sport and play on behalf of all young athletes. Programs such as Rise Inc., Los Angeles Peace Players, Boys and Girls Clubs have impacted so many young athletes around the world and have offered resources that they didn't even know they needed. They have affected so many lives for the better, including mine. From my firsthand experience in these youth development programs, I have been supported, engaged, more open to help, and have been exposed to a lot of strategies, resources, people, mental health care, and so much more. They have not only helped with set of skills in the game, but life skills everywhere else. They have really changed my life, not only on the court, but off of it. And I believe it's a very beneficial part of the youth. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Aditi Sharakar. I'm from Children's Defense Fund, California. Your constituents have stood in front of you for months, saying over and over that your current funding of probation and incarceration is going to lead to tragedy. And sadly, that day has predictably come. And I can't imagine how any of you can sleep at night, knowing that you have funded the department responsible, knowing that you have refused to fund anything else. Your CEO is proposing funding for an unspecified amount for the walls and the physical structures of jails and halls, on top of the $28.8 million you allocated last week and the $50 million you allocated last year. The walls and physical structures of these halls did not sexually assault 300 young people for decades. The room layouts in these halls did not create $3 billion of liability for you and this county. The structural layouts of these halls did not lead to the community losing a beloved son yesterday. Individual probation officers did that. Cut their vacant positions, cut their salaries, cut their positions altogether. That's what the community has demanded of you. It's the least you can do.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Elias Davila, and I'm here on behalf of Anti-Recidivism Coalition. I'm here to speak on item 1 and 2 in the public comment. I have recently got out of jail from a 4-year sentence about a month ago from the juvenile system. During my incarceration in the compound, Sylmar Juvenile Hall, there was no type of programs that would help my rehabilitation. I would wake up from 6 a.m. through 8 p.m. to programs simply to watch TV. The only thing that saved me was school and completed my associate's degree with the LA Mission College. But that was when there was probation support. But now there isn't no support from probation and leaving the youth locked up in the rooms with no resources. I was currently shocked when I heard somebody from my community overdosed, Brian Diest, and passed away and was found a day after dead. This should not be happening in our youth juvenile system. The budget should be provided to help our youth with programs, job skills, and treatment to help our youth re-enter the community, not to kill our youth. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Brooklyn, and I'm a youth organizer at the Young Women's Freedom Center in downtown LA. First, I want to say my heart goes out to the mom of the young person who recently passed away in the halls. I'm here to demand that you stop investing in our system that's killing us, corrupt, and we need investments in our communities. How many more times do we need to lose someone for you to do the right thing? How many more tears do we need to shed for you to see our pain? With that being said, we need to fund resources like the Young Women's Freedom Center and other organizations that prioritize the care and the healing of our young people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is DeAndre Tisby. I'm a student from Free LA. I'm a young person. Instead of putting money into locking me and my classmates up, how about you instead of putting money into school lunches? I would like to be a barber one day, but but high school, I go to a I would like to be a barber one day, but high school, I go to which you refuse, and defense doesn't have the resource. These things happen if you're fined a YJR, you will be putting money to my future, not our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I now believe we're going to the phones.
Will the following individuals please come forward? Dominic Davis, Gabriela Rojas, Herminia Galvez, Jacob Jackson, Jazara Holiday, Jared O'Brien, Jalen Pari, Jesus Trigo, Kiana Eldridge, and Caitlin Lewis. Moderator, may we have the first remote caller, please?
Our next participant is Binda K. Farmer. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Hi, I'm speaking on behalf of the youth and as a former incarcerated who was tried as an adult and came through the entire system of the Los Angeles County, district. My questions would be to ask first is, what benefit do you have if we have a corrupt sheriff systems now going inside to work with the Department of Probation, who's already failed, and why are we continuing to fail our youth with a false premonition of hope when we're just using them as a chess match and a political agenda that's going on within the county? These are lives, these are people's kids, and I would ask that only to start off it is to look at these people as if they are our own children and go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Scott Martin. You have 1 minute. You may begin.
Good morning. I'm Scott Martin, current Vice President of the Hacienda Heights Improvement Association, past president for 4 years. I appreciate the opportunity to share how significant having a facility such as the Hacienda Heights Community Center and maintaining our parks is to the unincorporated area of Hacienda Heights. I would ask you to imagine how priceless the smile is on the face of a child attending the many events they hold. The dream of building a community center came to fruition on past Supervisor Don Kanabe's watch. It was nurtured by Supervisor Janice Hahn, and now we appreciate all the support offered by Supervisor Hilda Solis. Our parks and recreation, parks and facilities need your continued support. Being able to offer community events such as family nights, movie nights, concerts, frost fests, and fright nights create a community. Events centered around holidays provide respite for parents and glee in children's hearts. The board of the Hacienda Heights Improvement Association, representing its members and residents, ask the LA County Board of Supervisors to please do not cut, but add budgetary funds if needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Emily Skihan. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Hi, thank you. My name is Emily Skihan, and I've been working directly with and on policies related to young people in probation and foster care for over a decade, including at Homeboy Industries and the Conrad Hilton Foundation. I have also been a foster parent in LA since 2018. I volunteered at Camp Gonzales for several years where I saw young people subject to absolutely unacceptable conditions, and I'm horrified that we are still spending over $400 million each year on probation, a department that has made it abundantly clear they do not care for young people. This week's tragedy at Barry J illustrates that if we continue trying to pour resources into probation and incarceration, young people will die. If you decide to approve an additional $28 million for probation to continue to incarcerate young people in unsafe, abusive facilities, if you decide to designate Barry J as a site for the SYTF, and if you decide to bring in notoriously abusive sheriffs as backup staff, you will be deciding that you have no problem with young people dying at the hands of the system. This is not the commitment I understand you have made to care first, and I hope you will make a decision today, a moral decision, to make this budget a moral document and to stop funding a department that has made it abundantly clear it does not care if young people live or die. As a foster parent, I want to remind you that the majority of young people in these facilities...
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Roy Humphreys. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Positions. Is the annual budget a full staffing budget? And if so, what happens to the unspent funds? Insiders note that short staffing is a department tactic to double load staff for supervisor promotions. Stop wasting time at meetings with superfluous items. Automation of the ports is essential. Transit, homeless campsites are essential and cost effective. Confinement facility issue has been decades in the making, and they need 21st century computer systems are essential throughout. Separate jails from the sheriff's department. Each supervisor should spend 4 hours in jail each week. Those who want to defund the sheriff's department are clueless as to cause and effect. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Eliza Arbalante. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Good morning, honorable members of the board. My name is Alyssa Arbulante with the American Heart Association, a member of the LA Producers Coalition and a resident of District 5. We're asking the board to allocate $6 million in funding for the sustained implementation of Market Match. Market Match is an evidence-based nutrition incentive program which increases the purchasing power of people using CalFresh and WIC, who are primarily children, older adults, and people with disabilities. A study by USC found over 800,000 households struggled with food insecurity in 2022. Since then, food prices have increased and drastic reductions in CalFresh were seen after the ending of the emergency allotments in March. I've seen the prevalence of food swamps affecting my community of Sylmar, further aggravating the issue of food and nutrition insecurity. The county's investment in Market Match will increase healthy food access for more residents. Please help make sure that thousands of food insecure residents continue to have access to healthy foods and vegetables. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Alan Fernandez. You have 1 minute. Please begin. Mr. Fernandez, your line is open. Please unmute your phone and begin.
Good morning, honorable members of the board. My name is Alan Hernandez with the American Heart Association, a member of the LA Producers Coalition and resident of District 1. We're advocating for a sustained $6 million investment in Market Match in the county's regular budget. The investment will increase the ability of local CalFresh participants to purchase fruits and vegetables. It will also allow for the continued expansion of the Market Match program beyond farmers markets, ensuring increased healthy food access for more residents in need. Demand for Market Match programs rose significantly due to inflation and economic pressures of the pandemic, with increasing demand and rising prices and the recent reductions in monthly CalFresh benefits. A permanent county investment in Market Match is greatly needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Jessica Ellis. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Thank you. Jessica Ellis, Sentinel Youth Services and ST2 resident. Thank you, Supervisor Hahn, for acknowledging that the pending lawsuits for young people abused under county care is not just a budget item. It's a representation of real harm, and that thank you for acknowledging it speaks to accountability needs. Another young staff person has died in custody, and while this budget increases funding to institutions that have thwarted attempts at reform. My career has been in community-based nonprofits. There is no way a community nonprofit could allow continued child abuse and continue to stay in business. Much of this is built into the accountability measures rightfully in our county contracts. The county knows how to pull funding to ensure accountability. These carceral institutions have open positions they already can't fill. It's not a budget issue. The workforce is reflecting changing community values. There's a shrinking pool of people willing to work within institutions that perpetuate harm and lack accountability. Simply adding funding to health-based approaches is not enough. It's time for accountability and meaningful funding reductions for county institutions that continue to allow people to be harmed and even die in their care.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Leandra Marin. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Good morning. Thank you for your time. I am calling to ask to focus our budget on youth development programs and not in incarcerating them. The death of this young person is really is entirely the result of the board's repeated investment in law enforcement, incarceration, and punishment. Despite a stated commitment to youth justice reimagined that doesn't include cages, shackling, LSD spray, and isolation, those are the only things the board has substantially invested in at the rate of $416 million, instead of all of these programs that we know are more beneficial and in the long term are better for LA County. So thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Max Sherman. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Thank you. Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Max Sherman. I'm speaking on behalf of the Apartment Association in Greater Los Angeles. We strongly urge the Board of Supervisors to suspend funding for right to counsel payments to private attorneys for non-criminal matters, new sites of retrofit inspections, and the Department of Public Health's proposed new habitability inspections program. Just like the county, our mom-and-pop owners do not have the additional resources needed to pursue seismic retrofits and frequent inspections after 3 years of eviction moratoriums and hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid rent. Until they are able to fully recover from COVID-19 pandemic, these programs need to be suspended to keep small mom-and-pop rental housing providers with 20 or fewer units in businesses. We strongly urge the board to instead focus on allocating more funding to the new landlord and tenant relief fund for payment of back rent that is owed, and to expand it so that renters in all such buildings, or at least, or at minimum, small owners with 20 or fewer units are able to receive funding from it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Angie Venezuela. You have 1 minute. Please begin. Angie Venezuela, your line is open. Please unmute your phone and begin.
Thank you. Good morning. I am speaking today to express and impress on the importance of having Parks and Recreation community programs and events, specifically at the Hacienda Heights Community Center. My name is Angie Valenzuela, and I am the president of the Hacienda Heights Women's Club. Our club has been in existence for over 100 years. We are a philanthropic and community service nonprofit. Our club has partnered with Parks and Recreation in the various events offered in the community. We provide toys during the holidays, candies at Halloween, girls empowerment, and so forth. These events are very well attended and very much needed for the community. I would say because we live in an unincorporated community, these services are vital and indispensable. And in conclusion, it was mentioned that mental health is #1 in the budget. These are preventive programming for our youth, our families, and our seniors. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go in person. Welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Latia Stevenson from District 2. I'm a publicist and community liaison. I do digital media marketing, event planning, and grant writing. I am a mother of 5 children, and I'm having my 3rd set of multiples that's expected to be coming any day now, and I actually have been placed with the Safety Initiative Program through Karen Bass at a completely deplorable hotel. The hotel has 1 bed, to start with that, is exposed 6 sockets. There's no fire, the fire alarm. There's feces on the walls. I hate to say it, it's boogers on the walls. There's prostitution going on at the hotel, and it's completely filthy. I spoke to Victoria Gomez at Holly Mitchell's office in District 2, expressed to her my grave concern with what's going on, told her that I had been talking to Hopics, and they haven't had any assistance for me. They just sent me back to Hopics to tell me that they couldn't help a family of my size. I wanted to see more Black faces in a position of power to properly allocate the $600 million budget that you have for homeless families, and see if we can get immediate assistance and not send us back to that same situation.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Today, I ask for Victoria Gomez, Isela Gracian, Victor Pacheco, and the Los Angeles Homeless Service Authorities and Hopics to cease and desist from slandering my name. I don't work for the county, I make correct. I don't work for the county, never have, and I don't work for the city. So for you to instruct your homeless deputy to tell homeless people that I'm a fraud because I don't work for you, you just have to ask me.
Yeah, let's make sure you
stay on topic
about the budget.
Okay, so can I get my 5 seconds you just took, please?
No, stay on topic.
Okay, thank you. So homeless budget is $600 million. You need to have more than 1 homeless deputy other than Victor Pacheco for all of 10 million. You need to cease from talking about foundational Black Americans, which I am a descendant of slave, which is why I'm telling you right now, today, if you do not help Black homeless families like you do everyone else, some of y'all are gonna face the same jail time Mark Riley Thomas is gonna fail. Black power.
Next speaker, please. Go ahead, next speaker.
Hello, my name is Diana Garcia, and I'm a student attending Free LA High School. I strongly believe instead of investing in incarcerating minors to invest in our future, we have a voice, and our voice matters. Our youth matters as well. Yesterday, on May 9th, hearing about the child that passed away made me really frustrated because it shows that you guys do not care about us. And I feel that the sheriffs do not belong inside with the minors or juveniles.
Woo! Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Francisco Romero with Promesa Boa Heights and the Park Equity Alliance.
First off, Felicidades de las Madres to all the mothers in the house and online. It's quite clear that, well, first of all, as the Park Equity Alliance, we support the alternatives being brought up by our allies at Reimagine LA and many of the groups here today. It's quite clear that the nexus has been made that the part of the solution, or a big part of the solution, is the programming at parks. So we, as the Park Equity Alliance, want to say that we're pleased that there isn't any staff cuts in the proposal from the 1529, but are concerned that there is nearly $17 million deficit in comparison to last year. So there's some cuts being made there to one of the major points of solution. So please double down on that park investment. And we support the request for the 93 critical positions that are missing, that are being requested by the department.
Thank you
so much.
Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Gabriela Rojas. I'm a resident of the 1st District, and I'm here to reiterate the budget input that has been given by the community that can save many lives and improve many more. This includes to remove the additional funding for the Sheriff's Department and reduce our reliance on policing and jails, investing in real public safety supports like putting care first and investing in independent pretrial services and alternatives to incarceration, reducing the Probation Department budget to fully fund Youth Justice Reimagined, rejecting the allocation of AB 177 funds to the Sheriff's Department, and invest in reentry and economic development programs where those funds would do the most good. And finally, defund the Sheriff Department's host program and invest in civilian and social worker-led homelessness outreach, services, and housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Herminia Galvez. I'm the new street cred coordinator for YJC. I'm also formerly incarcerated. I wanted to come and speak on the issue that I believe Sheriff Luna mentioned about improving quality of life, commute, burnout on their staff. I believe that we are also facing that with our counselors and with people that we are actually working and helping the community. So, and our youth, there's more needed of that. Counselors, positions like street cred coordination that are able to communicate, that community trusts. They don't trust the Sheriff Department. You need more people that they actually trust, people that have improved their life, people that have overcame the battles of whatever they've gone through drugs, through mental health. That's what we need, more positions like that. And instead of allocating the money for the Sheriff Department, getting people that community actually trust and are able to talk to. That's what you guys are needing of. So that funding also, the homeless. I've worked as a sense navigator specialist and you're homeless, and there's not enough counselors or workers that are actually taking care of that.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Jalen Perry. I live in District 2, and I'm a student representative in the Alliance Leadership Initiative. Today, I'm here to say youth development programs that use sports and play can have powerful impact on youth, and LA County should make sure Concept Proposal 113 in the CFCI spending plan is funded. I believe sports is a very beneficial part of the youth development program because lots of kids don't have too many opportunities in a lot of areas in this district. So with sports, it can be a very great experience and outlet. I would say some of the things I've learned about through basketball or sports in general would be patience. Before I started playing basketball, for my high school team, I would be very unfocused, not really understanding just life in general. So I was able to gain a deeper understanding about myself and the world around me, which is the same thing that could happen to our youth by fixing the budget. In closing, I believe that more sports and play youth development programs created through the Care First Community Initiative can help give more youth opportunities to grow in the ways I have.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Dominique Davis. I'm a self-determination coordinator with the Young Women's Freedom Center here in Los Angeles, California. I am a mother of 2 boys, and since the age of 12, I've been an addict. From the age of 15, I have been an addict who has been incarcerated from Los Padrinos to Central to Linwood to Chowchilla and CIW. While in these institutions, I have witnessed firsthand the availability and process to which drugs have entered these places. I know firsthand of the bribery, quid pro quo, abuse and neglect dished out from the people hired to keep us safe and help us to rehabilitate. I'm a survivor of abuse and assault from each of these institutions and have witnessed countless ODs during my collective time there. Today, I come to you 6 years clean and sober.
I come to you begging on behalf of the men, women, and children inside to stop funding the abuse and neglect conducted by the LA County Sheriff and Probation Department immediately and redirect these funds to credible messengers, YJR, youth development, organizations like Youth Justice Center, Youth Justice Coalition, Young Women's Freedom Center, and the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, who are on the ground and committed to our Care First initiatives.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
My name is Jesus Trigo. I'm the STEM teacher at Free LA, also also known as Youth Justice Coalition, YJC. And you heard some of my students come up here. I'm not gonna lie, this is nervous. This is not the same thing as being in the classroom. So that speaks to the transformation that's going on at YJC in Free LA. And that's what we need instead of funding, probation officers to, we need more community based because community knows community. I'm gonna say it takes a special person to work with young people, especially the young people that I work with who have a lot of trauma, a lot of patience, a lot of love, a lot of care. And I want you to really question yourself, do we have do they have the experience? Do they have what I just mentioned? Because that's the minimum required to work with young people. Community-based organization is the way to go. And
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Jared O'Brien. I'm a youth organizer with the Youth Justice Coalition. I'm here today to demand that we fully defund the probation department. We need to take the $28 million to invest in youth futures, youth jobs, and youth development rather than the probation department. The probation department has had a lot of time, money, and resources put towards them to lock us up and devalue our future. I was a youth struggling to survive in the streets of California, suffering, stranded, hungry, homeless. I ended up hitting the streets. I then ended up in Los Padrinos, and I was then later on released. They placed me on probation where probation never offered any resources and would never help me with anything. I was still homeless, I was still hungry, and I was still going through mental health issues that wasn't addressed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Caitlin Lewis. I live in District 2, and I'm a student leader in the Alliance Leadership Initiative. Today, I'm here to speak to you all about the powerful impact that sports-based youth development programs have within the LA County and why the LA County should make sure Concept Proposal 113 and the CFCI spending plan is funded. Through sports and play, I have learned that leadership is not solely about the power you hold within yourself, but your ability to instill power within other people. Thanks to the LA Alliance program, I have come to this realization with the support and resources they have given me to find my voice and learn how to effectively use it to help build up my community and become the change I wish to see in the world. This year, I was able to visit 2 countries, Fiji and New Zealand, for free because I play rugby at my high school with the support of sports development programs. In closing, sports programs are an imperative and operative part of youth development and play equity, which is exactly why the LA County should be pouring into them. Youth deserve to be supported and cared for, especially in the very communities that we are brought up in, because we are the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to go to the phones. Moderator, can we have the next speaker?
Will the following individuals please come forward? Jade Green, Kath Rogers, Kent Mendoza, Kevin Garcia, Kimiko Davis, Chloe Backus, Kamari Powell, Milanda Kakani, Monty McKay, and Maya Hendricks. Moderator, may we have the first remote caller, please?
Madam Chair, our first caller is from Jerry Holmes. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
First off, I would like to thank the county supervisors for making Jackie Robinson Park in Sun Village, California, a national landmark. I'd like to address a safety concern that I think it could be addressed immediately, and that is we have the Juneteenth celebration coming up on the 17th of June, and I walked the park, and there's a lot of dead trees in the park. Some of them are big, And there are also branches that are hanging, and we know it's hot, and people will be sitting under those trees. And I would hate to see one of those branches break off and fall and injure someone. So if someone can address that immediately, we would be greatly concerned. I'm one of the event planners for that event and one of the community leaders for Sun Village, California. Thank you very much again for making it a national landmark, and your help is greatly appreciated. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Brandy Butler. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to say thank you so much for allowing me this minute to talk. I am here from District 5 in the Antelope Valley. I wanted to thank you guys for all the funding that you put towards the youth sports programs and the scholarships. I have 5 kids who participate in those scholarship programs and the summer youth sports that you guys do, the fall and the spring. And it has made a tremendous difference. Not only do I participate with my kids, but we have a lot of foster youth who participate. The funding that you guys put towards the scholarship allows kids to participate at a reasonable fee, $25, $40, and it makes a huge difference because they get the uniforms, they get the activity, and more than that, they get the leadership, the time, the fellowship with other people, and they get the investment. The investment is what changes them and puts them on the right track to be better citizens for our whole community. So I just want to thank you guys and ask and encourage you guys to continue to fund those type of programs for our youth and keep them going so that they can go out and continue to do great things.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Stephanie Luna. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Good morning. I'm a resident of District 1 and also the aunt of Anthony Vargas, killed by the East LA Sheriff in 2018. This budget isn't tough to navigate. If you all want people to be safe and have a good life here in the county, then you'll invest that money into the community and not invest it into a department that operates with a culture of violence. With regard to the East LA station, the former Captain Pilar Chavez, whom was transferred to court services because her anti-blackness was leaked, is who we would have gone to and filed our department harassment reports with. This is the same captain that was present during the civil trial for my nephew a few weeks ago in support of both deputies involved. She replaced a former problematic captain within the station. No amount of funding or increased training will fix these department issues. The $4 billion request from the Sheriff's Department is not only egregious, it is extremely dangerous. It's a call for increased policing, when what so many have been uplifting is the constant need for services. We are actively fighting for our safety, health, family, and lives. We need care, not cops. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Philip Kim. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Good morning. My name is Philip Kim, CD1 resident, and I'm calling to urge the Board of Supervisors to reevaluate supporting the budget recommended by the CEO. The recommended budget is not a care first budget. It's more like a fear first budget. Only a fear first budget would justify increasing the sheriff's budget. Only a fear first budget would ignore the proven return on investment of funding community-based programs and increase the probation and sheriff's budget. Sheriff Luna's asking for 2 more captains is a perfect example of how their goal is to bloat their budget and increase the amount of our tax dollars they steal from programs that actually work to decrease crime. If you want to eradicate gangs and the sheriffs for free, start with implementing a tattoo policy. Look to other states who have abolished the Sheriff's Department, an institution born out of slave catching, and you'll see budgets that invest in real social safety nets. You'll see huge drops in all crime. Connecticut currently has less than half the national rate. We need to be brave. We need to be doing a care first budget, and we need care, not cops.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Miguel Caesar. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Good morning. My name is Miguel Casar. I'm a doctoral associate at the University of Southern California. It's hard to think about what to say anymore, especially when one is certain that the only interest of this board is political spectacle and a game of looking good, repeating cliches about caring about youth and turning around and funding systems of death, punishment, and violence. Another day, another young person killed by the criminal systems that you fund and by your negligence. Let me remind you, this is not a flaw, but a feature of the very architecture you continue to endorse. After 10 years of calling LA my home, I'm two weeks away from leaving, and it's been a sincere disappointment spent countless hours trying to ask this board to represent people and to be confronted by this fiasco. Self-serving posturing, terrible and ineffective policymaking, criminal, unsound, and incongruent budget, and a sincere disregard for the human rights of the people of Los Angeles, especially those most marginalized.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Regina Lockridge. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Yes, hi, this is Regina Lockridge. I've been trying to contact Victor Pacheco. If I'm Pacheco, I'm not pronouncing. But anyway, I've been homeless here for 2 months, and I've been trying to reach out to him, trying to get help. I'm on an oxygen tank. I'm diabetic, and I have severely bad arthritis, and I'm trying to get help with some kind of assistance from him. And he's not reaching back to me. I've been calling. And I really need help. And could y'all please help me? And I've been trying to reach him, Victor Pacheco. I don't know if he's saying it's Pacheco. I've been trying to reach out to him, and he's not reaching back to me. And I'm homeless. I'm a diabetic, oxygen tank, and I got severely bad arthritis, and I really need some kind of assistance. And I really need help. Could y'all please help me?
Okay, well, thank you for calling. We do we do have your number, and we are going to actually have someone call you back to see if we can provide some assistance. So we've got your number because you called us. We're going to call you back, and we'll offer some possible assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Thank you.
Our next participant is Ty Seymour. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Yeah, we do have your number. Hello, County Board of Supervisors who are engaging in debt dealing by providing more money to the LA County Sheriff's Department as well as to the Probation Department. Having a $34 million LASD Academy with the intention of having 100 new recruits per class. That's an expansion of about 800, if my math is right, potential new recruits, as well as $6.6 million going to quote-unquote constitutional policing. The community has asked time and time again for you to provide more money for community services, alternative to policing by providing community interventionists, violence disruptors, addiction recovery services, housing services that would lead to permanent housing instead of a perpetual cycle of lack of care within our current housing crisis system. Social workers, the list goes on and on. Expansion to LGBTQIA rights, expansion to Black liberation programs, Black-led programs within community services.
Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Javier Starring. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Hello? Yes, sir. Your line is open. Please begin.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Javier Starring, and I started working as a chaplain in the mid-'90s at Central Juvenile Hall, and I worked in that capacity for close to 3 decades. And first of all, I just want to say how grateful I am to all the community that is expressing their love, and along with their love, their anger for what happened yesterday at Barry J. Neidorf Juvenile Hall. When I started in this line of work, we didn't have this community. We didn't have this awareness, and so I'm so grateful for that. And like I said, it's the love and the pain that they're expressing. And I was at Barry J. Neidorf yesterday, and there's a lot of pain, and there's a lot of anger, and there's a lot of finger pointing. And
thank you. Next speaker,
with
please.
Reason, right?
Thank you.
Our next participant is Gloria Cruz. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Hi, my name is Gloria Cruz. I'm part of the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights. We encourage the County Board of Supervisors to continue to support the Represent LA model and legal services for immigrant families. We firsthand understand the difference it makes for families to not be separated by the harms of deportation. Those harms continue to separate our families. Furthermore, as the county continues to move dollars into homelessness, we should not leave out undocumented members of our community that end up unhoused due to the housing crisis in our region. In addition, refugees that recently arrived to our community should be welcomed with dignity and the proper resources for a successful integration to our communities. We also request the supervisors fund a director position to lead the digital equity efforts in the ISD department. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next participant is Deborah Lewis. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm actually calling from Oakland, California, because what's going on in Los Angeles is not only affecting your community, it's affecting the entire state, and we're all watching to see what you are going to do. This is not about losing money. There's lives that are being lost. So I'm specifically calling about this young man who lost his life because of an overdose after the week before you approved $28 million to probation. I am a former probation officer, and people can work in the community. I've been doing it 12 years. We do it better. And as you can tell from directly impacted people, this is what needs to happen so people stop dying. Invest in the community, invest in the care of young people and not their being in cages. No child should die in a cage.
Thank you.
This is state-sanctioned violence.
Your time
and
has
I urge you to
expired.
divest
Next speaker,
from probation.
please. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Valeria Velasquez. You have 1 minute. Please begin. Valeria Vasquez, your line is open. You may proceed.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for investing $2 million to launch the art market match expansion. You have committed only $1 million for tranche 2 funding, and I urge you to increase the funding to $6 million to match our original ask. We are currently enacting the pilot. We're expanding the farmers market footprint in LA County and innovating. There are farm stands that are incentivizing the purchase of necessary food items and pantry items and offering $20 produce boxes for households every week. The Compton College Farmers Market distributes $20 extra to CalFresh customers. And as you can hear, we do a lot with relatively little. The reduction from $2 million down to just $1 million puts our impact and progress toward reducing food insecurity in LA County at risk. I urge you to renew your commitment to meeting our community's basic needs, to affirm the idea that access to food should be a basic human right, and to reduce precarity for low-income people by increasing funding for our market match to a minimum of $6 million. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Michael Aranda. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello. Yes, hello. My name is Michael Aranda. I'm with the California Conference for Equality and Justice, and I'm calling to tell this board how angry I am that on the heels of the county throwing its full support into probation, there's blood on your hands. For months, your actions have advocated for the harming of youth when you promote additional funding to probation. I demand that you defund, dismantle, and abolish probation, and that you release all of our youth immediately. You have the power to put our youth first, so make things right and fund YJR immediately. Not tomorrow, not next month, not year, now. Fuck probation. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to go in person. Welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you. My name is Jacob Jackson. How y'all doing? Good morning. I'm with the Youth Justice Coalition and the LA Youth Uprising Coalition. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I come here to urge you not to support the aid of allocating any more funds towards the Sheriff Department or the Probation Department. As a community member and a youth organizer, I have personal experience with the Sheriff Department before I was born due to my brother being shot and killed and left to bleed out in the alley in 1994. Sheriff have always been hostile and not vigilant to the community. Protect and serve, more like obedient and get served. There are even recordings explicitly stated by a sheriff officer and a police stop. If you get pulled over in this car, you're gonna have to shoot you. Youth incarcerated are overdosing inside. Up to $3 billion for thousands of potential claim alleging child sexual abuse at county facilities and other locations. 84 million for lawsuits against sheriff department. 50 million for sheriff to comply with DOJ settlement decree. Needing more money for gang leaders and tasers, that's crazy. Invest in alternatives to incarceration of our young people,
Thank
invest in
you.
their freedom, and
Thank you
invest in their
very
health.
much. Next speaker, please.
My name is Jazar Holiday from Youth Justice Coalition. Moving into an abandoned building that was closed down by community due to infestation of roaches, paint falling off the walls, leaks, untrusty landlords just out for money while being closed have done no improvements with the money already wrongfully stolen, but coming back to ask our community to move back into this shithole where the neglect was endured, asking for $28 million to give us, the landlord special, painting over roaches, purchasing paintings to cover up the holes where the mice chew through the walls. Why the fuck will we move back here? And the painting doesn't remove or erase the infestation or abuse, so why the fuck would you expect our young people to? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Kaylani Elridge. I'm an 18-year-old coming from Free LA High School where we are protected. I'm here to show our community that we are the community. We really here for various important things on our community. Something I would want to get off my chest while I can't is you guys are putting our community in danger, even the young people who's held hostage. We do not need to go against each other. What we need to do is protect them. They have a say-so too over their protection, but not her behind bars. Instead of building new jails with $28 million, I will rather have better food for my school. I will have a bigger space for our schools and have gym and more fun activities. Better teachers and better quality for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Elijah Chandler with Free LA High School, and I would like for the $28 million to be spent on food for our school and for better education. Instead of spending $28 million to further send more children to juvenile detention centers in the halls, I would like for it to be spent on us for our education and freedom.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Can we turn our speaker up a little bit?
There we go.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Maya Hendricks. I am a resident of District 2, and I am a member of the Reimagine LA Coalition. And I'm here to demand that the board refrain from investing any more dollars into the carceral system. The recommended budget is pushing for over $10 billion in total to go towards the carceral system, while continuing to use the phrase, care first, jails last. Yet the CEO's office continues to prioritize investment in jailing versus investment in alternatives to incarceration, as you committed to do. No amount of funding or increased training will undo the deep-rooted culture of violence that is LASD. What the community needs is investment in mental health workforce to include clinicians, social workers, crisis response teams, and long-term caregivers. The community has provided the county with an outline for how to align the budget with the Care First vision. Yet once again, we're here and the county is falling short of Care First. We need full funding for all Care First community initiatives.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Imari Wallace from Free LA High School.
Can you lift up his microphone just a bit? There we go.
My name is Imari Wallace from Free LA High School. I think the money for the school, for the 28 million should go to the kids in probation school that when they get out of probation school and they live that lifestyle, that they should have mental health classes, and we should be provided for when they come out of probation schools. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Jade Green. I'm with Youth Justice Coalition. My heart really goes out to the mother of the young person that lost their life over the fentanyl overdose. I'm a mother myself, and I would be devastated if I knew my child was behind bars and was ODing on drugs when there's grown-ups who are allowing those things to come through there. I don't know if y'all are aware, but sheriffs are currently under investigation, and yet y'all are still throwing money at them. I'm not understanding the logic in that. The more I see the county budget prioritize the police and more of this type of non-productive activity, the less confidence that I have in your ability to work on behalf of the people, to have compassion about the young people in your constituency. If you care about young people, put your money where your mouth is. Put it where it's going to help young people and not continue to incarcerate them, continue to violate them, continue to rape. Put money into sheriffs that continue to rape young people in probation, and yet
I appreciate your
nothing's being
comments.
done about
I
it.
appreciate your comments. Your time
And
is
I appreciate
expired.
if y'all do something about this too.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Chloe Backus. I live in District 2, and I am a leader in the Alliance Leadership Initiative. One major thing that heavily impacts the youth in LA are sports and play activities. During quarantine, we were all inside the house with limited activities to partake in. Now that we're back in schools and things are getting back to normal, students look forward to sports and other activities. Personally, that is what motivates me. I play rugby, golf, and I'm the sailing captain for ISEP. Last month, because of rugby, I was able to travel around Fiji and New Zealand for 2 weeks. Learning about different cultures, connecting with the natives, and playing in tournaments opened my eyes to a brighter side of life. Stepping outside of what I'm used to brought light to what we could bring to LA. This is why LA County should make sure Concept Proposal 113 and the CFCI spending plan is funded. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Kamiko Davis. I'm in the 9th grade. I live in District 2, play 2 sports, which are volleyball and rugby. I'm a student leader in the Alliance Leadership Initiative. Today, I'm here to say youth development programs that use sport and play can have a powerful impact on youth in LA County. Should make sure Concept Proposal 113, the CFCI spending plan, is funded. I think sports are beneficial to the youth because it helps us make better decisions about life. This year, I had the opportunity to travel outside of the country to go to Fiji and New Zealand. In order for me to be eligible to go, I had the responsibility of buying a passport, keeping up my grades, and having a good attitude in and out of school. Me being behind on my classes had a negative impact on such great opportunities. That's why that were life-changing. Seeing how other people cope with what they have and making up for what they don't was amazing. People always bonded with each other, even if they were complete strangers. There was never a dull moment, and I would like to experience something like that in the future. I had to work harder than other students just to catch up and be at a passing level. I realized that if I took care of my responsibilities, I would never been inside the predicament of falling behind and missing the opportunity. Being a part of rugby and volleyball helped me realize that time is special and that you should never wait till last minute. In closing, thank you for the work that has already been done for youth in the LA County, and I look forward to seeing more sport and play youth development programs created through the Care First Community Initiative.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Kath Rogers. I'm a staff attorney with ACLU of Southern California and a resident of District 2. I'm here to ask the board to reconsider the funding allocated in the recommended budget for LASD's host team. Last year, this program diverted $3.75 million, which could have been spent to address the root causes of houselessness, but instead it increased LASD's already excessive budget. Deploying police as first responders to houselessness is harmful and dangerous, even when they receive specialized training. Studies show that exposure of unhoused people to police increases their likelihood of criminalization, and also that encampment displacements harm people's well-being and health. Investing as police to solve our housing crisis is the wrong approach. We ask that you reallocate this funding to affordable housing, housing first, and solutions that work. Also, please fully fund CFCI. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
I hope everyone is in good spirits this morning. Thanks for having me. I am Monte. I am an anti-recidivism youth advocate recently released from Camp Kilpatrick on an SYTF commitment. In the 3 weeks I've been home, I've been admitted to UCSB and UC Berkeley with full rides among many other institutions. But during my incarceration at Barry J., I was appalled by how our issues were being handled by higher ups. Instead of being hyper-focused on investing into these facilities to be more aesthetically pleasing or hiring sheriffs, we should be creating an environment that fosters positivity and growth and emphasizes the well-being and mental health of the youth. There are larger issues at hand. Substance abuse counseling in the halls is insubstantial and ineffective. Invest in that. Focus on that. Drugs flood most of our neighborhoods. It is not hard to get access to them on the outside. It should be hard for them to get access on the inside. Can we invest in drug dogs to stay on site of the halls, for example? No preventative measures are put into place. They provided staff with Narcan in the event that something does happen.
Thank you. Thank you. Your time has expired.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I believe we're calling up more names. Okay.
Will Justin Marks, Nicholas Tirado, Olivia Shields, Perez Leah, Sangeeta Rayasam, Sir Bailey, Sofia Barrios, Sofia Ventura, Tahita Shakur, Teresa S.J., Thomas Harvey, Trinity Wade, Yasmin Imani McMorrin, Zelaya Beliesley, Zoe Rawson, and Maya Hendricks. May you please come forward.
Okay, we have our next speaker. Go ahead.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Kevin Garcia, and I'm here on behalf of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. I'm here to speak and give a public comment on the budget. I was recently incarcerated 2 months ago and got released from DJJ after 5 years. As far as my experience in Sylmar Juvenile Hall, there was no programs to keep us busy. I feel like we need to invest more on our youth and keep them busy in programs or groups. Have credible messengers to be there for them, not just be careless and watch them OD in a facility where we are supposed to be getting rehabilitated and supported in becoming better young adults. You have the power to help our youth and prevent more harm and deaths from happening. You must remain committed to the Youth Justice Reimagined vision you are backtracking from now. I urge you to invest in things that work and not more law enforcement. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Kamari Powell. I'm a youth advocate for the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, and I'm here to give a general comment on the budget funding that is going towards LA County Probation Department and other law enforcement departments. As someone has been recently released from DJJ and Barry J. Juvenile Hall, the compound to be exact, 2 months ago, from a 3-year sentence, I've seen firsthand what goes on inside these facilities. The funding should be going to organizations like the Anti-Recidivism Coalition that provides resources for young men and women to help with housing and mentoring, which I think all of us youth need. The funding should go towards more programs for our youth. Remember, they are our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Kent Mendoza, and I'm with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. I've been working on these issues for 9 years since I was released from ICE, and before that I was in all these facilities that we talked about. I've been working with all the young people that are returning home from SYTF facilities, DJJ, and all these places. And I think that we continue to see the same investments. I feel like it's a shame that you allow for what happened to happen. The fact that you approved the budget that the CEO recommended was a slap in the face to all of us who have been working very tirelessly, sharing our stories of pain and trauma in all of these spaces, and you don't consider those things. It's not easy to be an advocate, and then now we're being attacked by the same department that you're funding. How do we invest in a department that says that they want to help young people, they're the mentors and all this, but then they're trying to use our backgrounds against us to demonize us and demonize the Department of Youth Development? I think that's not right, and you can do something about it, and you can always go back on what you just approved on the budget on the CEO. Go back on this and go back to what you committed to, which is care first, just last, and ultimately the Youth Justice Reimagined vision. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Can I remind the audience about the code of conduct? Thank you so much. Next speaker, please.
My name's Melinda Kakani, and I'm the Director of Youth Justice at Children's Defense Fund. Let me start by saying shame on you. A young person died by himself, without his mom, in a cage that you all fund, and his blood is on your hands. All because in these years of crisis, you've spent our dollars on caging children, abusing our children, isolating our children, making jails prettier, hiring more probation officers, ultimately killing our children. This is on you. These lawsuits, these generations of trauma, this loss of life and politics, Supervisor Mitchell, is not the process by which you get when, or whatever it was that you said. Politics for you all has been maintaining the status quo without ever publicly challenging your CEO and her biblical belief in caging children. Politics for you all has been funding the caging of our children with $416 million. It prevents you from acknowledging this young person's death in this space. Blood is on your hands. Blood is on your hands. You are killing our young people. It's enough.
Thank
It's
you.
enough.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Blood is on your hands, like Millie said. Like Kent said, this is a slap in the face. The sheriffs are dirty and corrupt, from Baca to Villanueva. What has changed? What makes you think that those folks in green suits that rape, molest, brutalize civilians on the outside are appropriate to go inside? It makes no sense whatsoever. No sense. 3 years ago, the whole world screamed, defund the police. We were all here outside. We screaming, defund the police, be creative. So if I believe that you all do have our best interests, maybe it's a lack of creativity. Maybe it's not knowing what to do differently. But we have a Department of Youth Development. We have other options. Invest in youth. Invest in alternatives. Defund the police. Free all young people from lockup. And get rid of the sheriffs completely. There's no reason for them to be supervising our young people dying
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Leah Perez. I work for an organization known as La Defensa. I'm also here on behalf of Justice LA and the Reimagine LA Coalition. I'm also here as an abolitionist, but I want to say that you do not have to be an abolitionist to see the problem that is going on in this county. The county is currently being sued by the ACLU for their human rights violations in the jail system. I don't understand how you can just sit here and not see the problem and invite the sheriff to speak on behalf of the budget. Why were no other departments here? Why was the sheriff the only one that was invited today? I also wanted to say that the United Nations visited MCJ several weeks ago because of how problematic the human rights violations that are happening are going on. If that happened in any other nation, there would be international uproar. I just also want to say that I'm here on behalf of CFCI, which needs to be fully funded to the tune of $100 million. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Nicholas from the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. I'm 3 months out from doing 11 years in prison. And before that, I was a product of juvenile hall. And I feel like now that I'm out, I'm a part of the policies team in Anti-Recidivism Coalition. I'm going to college to be a drug counselor. I'm doing all these positive things, and I'm really trying to change what we see as the community. And I feel like we throw a lot of numbers and we throw a lot of big words and we say we're gonna defund this and we're gonna fund that and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that, but it doesn't take a lot to just give us a hug or to listen to us or it takes a lot to put on this, this board member, meeting, and it takes a lot to put a lot of all these numbers together, but just come out to the community and just talk to us, you know what I'm saying? Like, just come out to the community and give us a hug and play basketball with us or play football with us or just say, hey, you matter, or hey, just hear us, you know what I'm saying? Like, the majority of the people out here are young, under the age of 18. Listen to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Trinity. I live in District 2, and I'm a student leader in the Alliance Leadership Initiative. Today, I'm here to say youth development programs that use sports and play can have a powerful impact on youth, and LA County should make sure concept proposal 113 in the CFCI spending plan is funded. Our sports can be beneficial for youth development because it can teach the youth patience, how to be a team player, and what it means to be a leader and stand as one team. For example, I used to rush things and I get it done right then and there. I competed in Jams Nationals in 2016, and by me wanting to rush the creation we were trying to build, it caused conflicts with my teammates due to me wanting to get everything done in one rehearsal session. Then my coach taught me that the key thing is patience and perfection takes time. You can't rush perfection. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Zelaya, and I live in District 2, and I'm a student leader
in the Alliance Leadership Initiative of View Park High School. Today I'm here to briefly speak about how youth development programs use sports and play and how how impactful it is, and why you should make sure that the proposal 113 and the CFCI is funded. More funding towards youth development, more specifically facilities, would be impactful because it would give youth athletes a space to explore, both socially, mentally, and physically. One of the first sports I had the privilege to play was basketball at St. Andrews, and I wasn't good at it, but it did introduce me to other people who I would end up being a part of a team on later on. And it helped me become more confident. And I have the opportunity to play in my school's theater, right, as a lead role, and I probably wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have the confidence from early on in life. And I want to thank you for what you've done so far for the community, and I'm looking forward to see what you guys can do for more programs that I can see myself and my community in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next speaker, please.
My name is Sophia Ventura. I'm with the Urban Peace Institute. This recommended budget pushes over $10 billion towards the carceral system. So to be clear, this is a jails first, care last budget. The harm is profound, yet the continual investment and perverse devotion to solutions born from the exact system that imposed the problem in the first place, it feels like an act of madness. Is there a breaking point? Just yesterday, a young person died while incarcerated at Barry J. Is that not enough of a tragedy to wake us up, to wake you up to change? On March 21st, this board looked into the eyes of the community and professed their recommitment to YJR. Yet this budget allocates an increase of $17 million for probation salaries and benefits for the exact same amount of budgeted positions as last year. $49 million to remodel facilities that by state law should be shut down. This budget also rejects DYD's request for 11 positions that could go towards supporting Care First projects like the Credible Messenger program. Today is your time to act.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Olivia Shields with the Urban Peace Institute and LA Youth Uprising Coalition. Yet again, this budget is a sustained commitment to improving incarceration over care and community. That includes over $130 million towards making probation facilities and county jails prettier. That includes yet another fiscal year of allocating a nauseating $5 billion, over 10% of the total budget, to the sheriff and probation departments. My question for you all is why? Why do you continue to invest in a system that for decades has indisputably proven its incompetency? A system that abuses, exploits, traumatizes, and degrades our young people. A system that is so egregiously flawed and beyond disrepair. A child in his custody, a son, a friend, a community member died. His death was avoidable and inexcusable. Nicer tables and painted walls would not have saved his life. Community-based care is what community needs and demands. You all have the power to make concrete change today by divesting from probation and investing in youth development. At the bare minimum, in alignment with CEO staffing report, cut 296 vacant positions for probation and allocate these positions to the Department of Youth Development.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Sofia Barrios, and I go to Free LA High. And I am here to explain why $28 million should not be invested in probation, but should be invested in the youth justice program. $28 million should be spent on including sports into schools, making the school food better, include more programs. For example, job programs could be funded. That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Sir James Bailey, Men Formation, Youth Justice Coalition, LA Youth Uprising. This is for Carletta Jackson, Waukesha Wilson, Mr. V. I'm so opposed to this budget proposed by the CEO. Crazy, courageous community conversation. Hope says Solis, yes, Esperanza, we have. Homeless rights, youth justice, equity, access. Yes, we agree. Horvath, but we keep us safe. Thus, the people passed Measure J, and we're asking why the funding seems to be squandered under someone's seat. Why go after FEMA? Why go after the state? Defund the police. Stop the ridiculous waste on probation's vacant positions. Recognize coercion is not care. Subjecting innocent young children to Syracuse, Ritalin, Adderall. Please visit the Citizens Commission on Human Rights. The sheriff said boldly here today that rejecting the shame of oversight from the courts or from the people.
Thank you.
So body cams, cell cams, and they're never going to work.
Next speaker, please.
My name is Tari Shakur. I'm the Director of Organizing with Youth Justice Coalition. I want to first start off by saying that if you moved on your commitment to support and fund YGR, a young person would not have lost his life. A mother will never see her child again. Y'all all have blood on your hands. You all have blood on your conscience. Right now, not tomorrow, is the time to put county resources into making YGR a reality and divesting from probation. I'm begging you, please do not allow another child to die. Create pathways to moving all youth out of probation custody by 2025. You are funding the death to death track because not only are you allowing kids to die inside camps, if they do make it out of camps alive, you are allowing them to go into these county jails and die as well. Please do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Thomas Harvey. I'm the Executive Director of Children's Defense Fund California. I'm here to comment on the continued funding of LA County's youth caging facilities. As you know, yesterday a young person was killed by those facilities. While the formal cause of death may end up being an overdose, it is clear that the violence of the LA County's youth caging systems is responsible for his death, as is this body, who has overseen the continued funding of a system that they know to be violent and racist and create only harm. I've worked all over the country in 15 years as a civil rights attorney, and I've never seen what I've experienced in LA County in the last year. While it's unfortunately common to see this kind of violence and racism in our nation's commitment to caging human beings, what's different here is this body has observed 40 plus years of proof, of litigation, of community testimony, and never done anything substantial to change it. The difference is the folks here profess to be progressives and liberals and profess simultaneously that they are powerless to do anything.
Thank you.
If there are 5 more
Your time
powerful
has
people
expired.
we should speak
Thank
to,
you.
let us know who they are.
Thank
Until
you.
then, we urge you to end the funding
Next
of LA
speaker,
County's
please.
probation.
Hola, mi nombre es María Blanco y soy responsable de desinfectar las habitaciones de los pacientes de Los Ángeles General Medical Center. He trabajado ahí para una compañía subcontratista del condado durante 14 años, a pesar del importante trabajo que hacemos mis compañeros de trabajo y yo no tenemos acceso a cobertura médica.
Hello, my name is Maria Blanco, and I am responsible for sanitizing patient rooms at LA General Medical Center. I have worked for a contractor at the county for 14 years. Despite the important work we do, my coworkers and I do not have access to affordable health care.
Estoy aquí para agradecer a la Junta de Supervisores por votar sí a la atención médica para nosotros, para 1,500 trabajadores del servicio subcontratados en los hospitales del condado.
I am here to thank the Board of Supervisors for voting to give affordable health care to 1,500 contracted service workers at the county hospitals.
Yo tengo años viviendo con diabetes y sin poder tener tratamiento ni medicinas hasta que voy a una sala de emergencias y tengo que ir a la sala de emergencias para recibir atención.
I have been living with diabetes for 40 years and without being able to get treatment or medicine until it is a medical emergency. I have to go to the emergency room to receive care.
Muchos de mis compañeros de trabajo han testificado sobre cómo nosotros no recibimos tratamiento porque no podemos pagar la aseguranza médica. Varios hablan como yo y terminamos en las salas de emergencia igual que yo.
Many of my coworkers have testified about how they went untreated because they couldn't afford health care. Several speak about how they ended up in the emergency room just like me. This is not the way we want to get health care. This is not the way any healthcare worker should receive health care.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next speaker, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Han and honorable supervisors. My name is Yasmin Amani McMorrin. I'm the Director of Education Equity for the Children's Defense Fund California. And I'm here today to express support for the young people currently caged in our camps and halls, the Los Angeles Youth Uprising Coalition, and all of the young folks who came out today in support to courageously share their lived experience. And I really, as a mother and just a concerned person in our community, I had to show up today because on Monday, a young person died while incarcerated at Barry J. Juvenile Hall. And I humbly ask that the board prioritize the decarceration of our young people over the continual investment in law enforcement. I ask that you fully fund Care First community investment and Youth Justice Reimagine. Invest in our young people's healing, mental health, and beyond. And as policymakers, you have the privilege to impact and shift how we experience the services that county offers. And the youth of our 88 cities and unincorporated areas depend on your leadership to keep them safe and provide the conditions for them to thrive.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, here with Arts for Healing and Justice Network and LA Youth Uprising, and I stand with the wise and courageous youth and community here today. I heard so many things today, but the thing that is standing out for me, I heard no child should die in a cage. Do you feel that? Do you visualize what that is? In my world, no child should be in a cage. I feel it in my body. No child should be in a cage. Will your actions today show that you hear that and that you feel that? We cannot tolerate the funding of state violence that is in this budget. All people are deserving of belonging in community, not jails, to be fed, nurtured, and held by a county investment that honors their worth, their humanity. And the lack of feeling that is this county's crime.
Thank you for your remarks. Next speaker, please.
Hi, Sangeeta Raisam, District 1 resident with La Defensa and Reimagine LA Coalition. The amount the county has allocated to LASD only keeps rising decade after decade. Over the last 12 years, we've seen a $1 billion increase towards LASD. Over half of LA County's jail population is there pre-trial, legally innocent, but detained and can't afford bail. It's barbaric to put $1 billion more in incarcerating people, especially those who haven't even been convicted of anything. It's much more than a waste of money. This is an abject moral failure. We must fund Youth Justice Reimagined. We must end probation. We must ensure the actual alternatives to incarceration that we have long been advocating for, that have long been exhaustively researched and have been given report backs. They are proven to work. It is a moral failure that this is not being funded. We have the answers with fully funding Care First community investment. We need to make sure that you act now and actually fully fund that and ensure care first and not cops or incarceration. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
I don't believe that any one of you deserves to face myself or any of us here. I am the voice for the voiceless, okay? And there is something under your code of conduct that you've disregarded, which Janice Hahn, a lot of the times that you've been distracted, not hearing one of the previous speakers, that to not allow another child to die under your bench, under the LA County Department of Failure to Protect Children, DCFS. That should be the absolute very #1 item on your agenda. If you think we've forgotten about Anthony Avalos or Gabriel Fernandez, when we walk in this boardroom, I don't want to see your face on the wall. Let me see the ones that you want people to forget about, the misappropriated funds under DCFS. Don't thank me. You thank us by doing a better job of creating a task force. You want to dismiss me and say thank you. Thank us by protecting children better than you ever have.
Okay, your
Too many children have been murdered under LA County DCFS, tortured.
Your time has expired. Do we have another speaker in person?
No other speakers, Madam Chair.
Do we have another speaker on the queue?
No other speakers on the queue.
Okay. Well, regardless, we do appreciate all the speakers that have come today to address this board on our proposed budget. We do hear you, and we do take that all very seriously as we all deliberate and debate how this county moves forward with our responsibilities and our obligations. But that will conclude our public comment for today. At this time, I move that the board receive and file and take under advisement various supplemental budget requests and comments made during the public budget hearing commencing today, May 10th, 2023, and make a finding that a notice of public budget hearing was given in accordance with Section 29080 of the Government Code. That said, hearings commenced on May 10th, 2023, pursuant to said notice and as required by Section 29081 of the Government Code. I also move that the board close the public budget hearing for purposes of oral testimony, finding that there are no persons who have not been given the opportunity to be heard, but to allow maximum public input, permit additional written testimony and requests to be filed through the close of business Friday, May 19th, 2023. I further move that the board reconfirms that budget deliberations will begin on Monday, June 26, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. And I also want to thank our department heads for being here through the entirety of this session this morning and listening to the concerns of all those that you serve as well. So I move to approve, seconded by Supervisor Solis. Executive Officer, please call the roll.
Supervisor Solis.
Aye.
Supervisor Solis, aye. Supervisor Mitchell. Aye. Supervisor Mitchell, aye. Supervisor Horvath.
Aye.
Supervisor Horvath, aye. Supervisor Hahn.
Aye.
Supervisor Hahn, aye. Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, that concludes today's budget hearing meeting. At this time, we will take a brief break, I think 5 minutes, to switch over to the special closed session meeting that was scheduled to begin at 11:15 a.m. with the public call-in information as posted on the agenda.